Have you ever noticed how some religions talk a lot about love, grace, and freedom, but behind the scenes, there's this invisible rulebook full of hidden conditions? That's exactly what happens with the Seventh-day Adventist message. On the surface, it sounds polished. We follow only the Bible. We believe in salvation by faith. We don't judge anyone. Sounds perfect, right? But when you take a closer look, you start seeing a pattern. They say one thing but live another, and they rarely admit it. Now, this isn't about attacking anyone. It's about shedding light on what many Christians have felt deep down, but couldn't quite explain. That strange moment when someone says, the Sabbath doesn't save you, yet insists that not keeping it will lead you straight into the mark of the beast. Or when you're treated kindly, until they find out you worship on Sunday. The official discourse of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is packed with rehearsed lines about love, freedom, and unity. But behind that, a quiet system of exclusivity and judgment that's rarely acknowledged out loud. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain and exposing 5 clear contradictions that Seventh-day Adventism refuses to admit. And listen, this isn't to offend. It's to help those who've seen the cracks but never had the words to say it. If you're someone who values truth over nice-sounding slogans, get ready, because this is going to open your eyes. 1. The Sabbath doesn't save, but if you don't keep it, you're lost. One of the most common phrases you'll hear from a Seventh-day Adventist is, "We believe in salvation by grace, not by works." Sounds good, right? But keep listening, and suddenly it turns into, "In the last days, those who don't keep the Sabbath will receive the mark of the beast." Wait, what? So the Sabbath doesn't save you, but not keeping it condemns you? That's like saying the parachute isn't necessary, unless you don't wear it, and then you die. This is where things get confusing. On the surface, it's all about grace. But underneath, there's a hidden clause, as if God's salvation comes with fine print at the bottom. And the moment you miss that detail, you're out. Many Seventh-day Adventists don't even realize how contradictory this sounds to someone outside their system. You're told that grace is enough, but somehow you're still being measured by your Saturday calendar. And that's not grace. That's grace, with conditions. Now, let's remember the thief on the cross. He didn't keep the Sabbath. He didn't even have time to join a church. But Jesus said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." That one moment destroys the whole idea that Sabbath keeping is essential for salvation. And if that feels like a stretch, wait until you hear how they say, "We don't judge anyone." But the second you worship on Sunday, suddenly you're part of Rome's conspiracy. 2. We don't judge anyone. But if you worship on Sunday, you're part of Rome. If you sit down with a Seventh-day Adventist, they'll likely tell you, "We don't judge people. That's not our place." It sounds humble, until they find out you worship on Sunday. That's when the quiet shift happens. Behind closed doors, their doctrine teaches that Sunday worship is the mark of the beast, a deception rooted in the Roman Church. So even if you love Jesus, serve your community, and live by the Spirit, you're seen as sincere, but deceived. It's not an open insult, but the judgment is loud in the silence. This is what makes Seventh-day Adventism so tricky. The public message is tolerance. The internal theology is exclusivity. You could be a Spirit-filled believer, raising your hands in worship, preaching truth, loving your neighbor, and still be spiritually off in their eyes, just because you do it on the wrong day. It's like being disqualified from the race, even though you trained harder than most, just because you showed up on a Sunday. But Scripture reminds us that God looks at the heart, 1 Samuel 16 verse 7. And Jesus, he healed and served on the Sabbath, breaking traditional rules to show us that the heart matters more than the day. So if Sunday worship disqualifies a person, are we really saying that millions of sincere Christians across history were all deceived? That line of thinking opens the door to something much deeper, especially when they claim to love all churches, but still believe only one is the faithful remnant. 3. We love all churches, but only we are the faithful remnant of Revelation. A Seventh-day Adventist will often say, "We love and respect all Christian denominations." It's a beautiful sentiment, until they mention Revelation 12 verse 17. That's where their theology draws a sharp line. They believe the Seventh-day Adventist Church is the only true remnant church in the end times. Everyone else? caught up in spiritual Babylon. So, while the tone is friendly, the message underneath is clear: we love you, but you're still wrong. This creates an awkward tension. Publicly, it's unity. Behind the curtain, it's exclusivity. It's like being invited to dinner and then told you can't sit at the main table unless you change your clothes, your diet, and your calendar. In Adventist theology, love comes with conditions, subtle ones, but real. And if you don't fit the mold, you're pitted at best, ignored at worst. It's hard to feel truly loved when the person smiling at you believes you're part of Babylon. But here's the thing: Jesus never taught this kind of conditional love. He embraced Samaritans, healed Roman officers' servants, and dined with people from every walk of life, none of whom checked the remnant box. So when someone claims only their church holds the exclusive truth, maybe the problem isn't the people outside, but the walls being built from the inside. And if you think this division is deep, wait until we talk about how they treat the writings of Ellen White. For we don't follow Ellen White as a rule of faith, but everything is confirmed by her. Ask a Seventh-day Adventist and they'll tell you, the Bible is our only rule of faith. But keep watching closely, and another name keeps popping up: Ellen G. White. Her writings are quoted in sermons, Sabbath school lessons, doctrinal studies, pretty much everywhere. Need to prove the Sabbath will be the final test? There's a quote from Ellen. Want to explain the investigative judgment or health reform? Ellen again. It's like trying to read the Bible, but always through her glasses. The truth is, in Seventh-day Adventism, Ellen White functions as a theological referee. Nothing feels truly settled until she weighs in. It's not always stated openly, but in practice, her words carry more authority than most would admit. And here's the irony: they insist she's not equal to Scripture, yet every controversial or complex doctrine is backed up by her visions. It's like saying, we believe in the Constitution, but every time you disagree, they quote a second book that somehow overrides it. Now, don't get me wrong. Many believers admire spiritual authors. But there's a difference between inspiration and dependency. And when your theology leans on one 19th century prophet to validate your interpretation of ancient scripture, something's off. The question is, if the Bible is enough, why does it always need Ellen's stamp of approval? That tension leads us to another contradiction, because even when they say salvation is by faith, your food, clothes, and calendar seem to tell another story. 5. We don't hate Catholics, but they're the prophetic enemy of the end times. Here's one of the most shocking contradictions in Seventh-day Adventism. On one hand, they'll tell you, we love Catholics. We don't attack other faiths. But dig into their prophetic interpretations, and you'll find something else entirely. The Catholic Church is portrayed as the beast of Revelation, the mother of harlots, and the very system that will deceive the world in the end times. How can you say you love someone, while also believing they're part of Babylon's final deception? It's a strange double message. Out loud, they speak of unity and kindness. But in their theology, the Pope is often seen as the Antichrist, and the Catholic Mass as a counterfeit system created to lead souls away from God. It's all there, just not broadcasted in public evangelism. And yet, many Seventh-day Adventists will avoid openly admitting it, because it sounds harsh. So instead, they speak in code: apostate power, man of sin, little horn. But the implication is clear. Now ask yourself, if the Catholic Church is truly the greatest prophetic threat, shouldn't they be honest about that belief? And if they truly respect other faiths, shouldn't their theology reflect that too? This kind of split between public image and private doctrine isn't just a contradiction, it's dangerous. And it raises a deeper question. What else are they saying in public that doesn't match what they teach behind closed doors? After hearing all this, you've got to ask yourself, how many times have you heard Seventh-day Adventists speak softly about love and unity, only to find out that, deep down, they believe the Catholic Church is the beast of Revelation and Sunday worship is the mark of the beast? It's not about attacking anyone. It's about exposing the disconnect between what's said in public and what's really taught behind the curtain. Because when your theology points fingers at over 1 billion believers, it's time to stop pretending it's just love. So here's the real question. Are you living in the light of God's truth, or trapped inside a system that only looks like grace on the outside? Is your faith built on Jesus alone, or is it quietly shaped by fear, prophecy charts, and unspoken judgments. You deserve to walk in truth, and truth doesn't come with a hidden agenda. Jesus didn't die so you could live under religious anxiety disguised as end-time urgency. And maybe, just maybe, someone you know is caught in this very system, thinking they're free, but silently chained by fear of Rome, calendars, and Ellen White quotes. If so, share this video with them. It might be the wake-up call they didn't know they needed. And if this opened your eyes in any way, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and stick around. There's more truth coming, because the journey to real freedom has just begun.